Back in the 90s, the right music was in the mainstream. Well, at least more often than now. There were a lot of iconic bands coming out of the UK. There were two radical bands in the UK who were lesser known in the 80s and 90s, being Snuff and the Wild Hearts. Two bands that could seriously play. In the early 90s, Duncan Redmonds of Snuff and Pat Walters and Jewel Deans of the Wild Hearts would create a super band together called Guns and Wankers. Guns and Wankers would tour the UK and Spain with bands like NoFX and Leatherface, and would release several EPs titled Pop, Hardcore, and Metal, as well as G&W, titled after the band's initials. Their silly EP was packaged with Fear and Loathing magazine. So if you were a punk rocker keeping up with the scene back in the 90s and you picked up this magazine, then you were in for a righteous surprise. In 1994, the band would put out their most complete project, a 20-minute 8-song EP called For Dancing and Listening. For Dancing and Listening is one of the gnarliest pop-punk EPs I've ever heard, and one of the best you've never heard. The singing and instrumentals are nothing short of brilliant. It sounds almost exactly like Snuff. It's feel-good music that young people used to listen to while driving around having fun. With an album this gnarly, one might wonder, how did this band never blow up? Maybe it has something to do with the cover of the album. It doesn't really match the music. I'm sure a lot of people must have skipped this record for that reason. And I'm also sure people must have bought it thinking it was anything but punk, like salsa or reggae or some shit. It's a shame that the band would never go on to release another album. They broke up, but thankfully they reunited in 2019 and would release a compilation of all their songs called Pop, Hardcore, Metal, Silly, the complete recordings, 93 through 94. They replaced Jules Dean with Wes Wastley on bass and backup vocals. They're still playing live shows in the UK. With only one concrete album down, I'd love to see another album by the band with all new material so that punks could have something to listen to while they're skateboarding and disobeying their parents.